everyone, and welcome to my channel. This is going to be one of my end of the year videos. So I'm doing a ton of videos wrapping up 2025 and looking ahead to 2026. A lot of them are already up on my channel, so if you want to watch them, you can just go ahead and have fun with it. But also you can subscribe, you don't miss the future ones. So today we are going to talk about my series reading. So I will tell you about all of the series that I have started, finished, made progress in, and read completely, as well as DNFed. And we have quite a few to go through. Now, I did a halfway through the year update where I already talked about some of these, but today we're going to look at all of 2025 and the series that I managed to read. We're going to start out with the series that I have started, so that means that I have at least read the first book in the series, but I have not finished it yet. And the first one I wanted to mention would be the Camille Devine series. This is a 1920s cozy mystery series where I have read the first book at the end of the year and I did enjoy it, so I might continue on. Right now I'm a little bit undecided, so this is not a high priority, but I did like the first book, so I might read more. In a similar vein, we have the E.V. Parker series. Again, this is a 1920s cozy mystery series. I think I like this a little bit less than the first book in the Camille Devine series. So again, this one is not a priority for me to continue. So far, I have only read the first book, but when the mood strikes me, I might read more. Then I have started a duology, and I'm a little bit mad that I didn't end up reading the whole duology last year, but I just had not the time to fit in that second book, so I hope to do it this year. The first book is I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me, and this is a YA horror series about a black ballerina who makes a deal with this river of blood that flows under Paris. Now, while I wasn't absolutely blown away by the first book, I think I do want to know what happens to the characters in the second one, so I will continue this. Then I also started a witchy series with the first book Rewitched. I do have access to the second book through my library, so I think I will read that as well. I don't know if there will be more books in this world. I think they do follow different characters. I had a fun time with Rewitched. There were aspects of the story I really loved and some I didn't love. In this one, we follow a young witch who doesn't use her magic very often, and then she finds out that when she turns 30, she has to do this like magical trial, so she will actually keep her magic, and she does not do well in the trials. So the second book is following a different character and a different adventure, but it's like the same world, I believe. And last but not least, I started reading Mistborn Era 2. This is probably my biggest fail of last year because I had meant to read the whole Era 2 series in 2025, and I actually only managed to read the first book, and that was in July. And then I just did not pick up the sequels. So I do plan to do this year. I have even considered rereading the first book because while I had fun with it and I definitely enjoyed it more than the Era 1 Mistborn books, it was not very memorable. And so also it's a lot shorter. So I might do a cheeky little reread and then finally finish this series off. So that means last year I started to read 5 series, and with 3 of these I have like fixed plans to read more in 2026. Next up, we're going to talk about the series that I have continued last year. And the first one was the Dead Jinn universe. I read the last novella, The Haunting of Tramcar 015. This is also more of a world thing where sometimes you follow the same characters, but sometimes you follow different characters. So at this point, I have read 2 novellas and a short story, and the last book so far that exists in this world is a full-length novel. So I would really like to read that one in 2026. This is an alternate history Egypt kind of world that is very steampunky, and usually the books are kind of a detective, kind of like solving crime stories. Then we have the Temperance Brandon series. I read 1 more book in this series. I think I'm now 6 books in. probably. Yeah, I think that was the 6th book, and I already own the 7th one, so that will get read next year as well. These are the books that the TV show Bones is based on. However, it's very different, but the main setup is the same, of this woman who is a anthropologist and she helps the police solve crimes, but like everything else is different. Then I also continued on in the Singing Hills cycle by reading the 3rd book, so I'm still very much behind on that one, and I really need to catch up on it because I don't know how many books there are now, 7 maybe? So yeah, I need to pick up the pace with that one, but I did enjoy book 3, so I definitely want to continue on. And this is a world where we follow a cleric and they collect stories, so each novella is kind of a story they collect. Then I continued on with my little manga series that I always get gifted from my best friend, Cheese Sweet Home, and I read 2 volumes, I think 9 and 10, and I already own 11, so again we will continue this in 2026. And in this one we follow a small cat called Chi who gets lost and then adopted by a Japanese family, and it's like really sweet. I also finally made progress in the Lady Janie series by reading the first Mary book, and this is a direct sequel to My Lady Jane. So I read My Contrary Mary, I had a fun time with it, and I hope to read the next Mary book in 2026. This is a series, it is YA, it is inspired by historical figures and sometimes literary figures, so the books themselves usually don't have a connection with each other. It's just the same kind of setup and the same couple of authors who are writing these books. However, as I said, My Lady Jane and My Contrary Mary are actually set in the same world, but not all of the books are. This series also has a very specific kind of humor that I love, but it's not for everyone. Then I also made a progress in the Miss Murphy series by reading the next book. I actually don't quite know which one that was, maybe also like the 6th or the 7th one. I'm not quite sure right now, but I am a bit into this series. You can see behind me I have a ton of the books actually, a lot of the later ones that I got as gifts, so I'm trying to work my way there. Yeah, I'm enjoying this one. It's a cat solving crimes. It's really sweet. I also continued on in the disc world by reading the 4th book in publication order, that was Mort, and I already got the next 2 ones, so this will also be continued in 2026. And if you don't know what the disc world is, like, have you been living under a rock? This is a kind of fantasy series where we follow this big world with like lots of characters that show up in like different books, and this is just a very wacky kind of world. And last but not least, I continued on in Monstrous by catching up to the publication thing, like of the volumes. So I read, I think, volume 9, if I'm correct, and now I'm waiting for volume 10. I'm pretty sure I will get it for my birthday. We'll see about that, but it was on my wish list. So yeah, I will read volume 10 in 2026. So I continued on in 8 series in 2025, and with most of these, only 1 book in the series was like added on to what I had read, except for Cheese Sweet Home. Next up, we're going to talk about series that I have finished. So this is a little bit more of an exciting category for me. And the first series I have finished in 2025 was Mistborn Era 1. This had always been planned for 2024, then I didn't end up doing it, so I finished the series off at the beginning of 2025. This is not a series I particularly enjoyed, unfortunately, so it was more of a chore, but it felt very good to like put that check mark at the end of that series. Now, Mistborn, I haven't really said that before when I talked about it, but Mistborn is a high fantasy series where we have this world with a very particular magic system that works with metals, and Era 1 is set like hundreds of years before Era 2, so we don't really have the same characters, but there's still like connections between the two series. Next up, I marked as finished Hunger Games because we did get the new book this year, which was Haymitch's book Sunrise on the Reaping, and I have read that. So with that, I have again read all of the books in the Hunger Games world. Now, will there be more? I don't know. So for now I count it as finished. Then for finished I have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, because I finally read through the Looking Glass, and this is just a little duology, like classic children's story. I think we all know Alice in Wonderland, and so yeah, I finally managed to read that very tiny second book. And then I finished reading the Hell's Library series, which was probably my biggest success this year, because I have been meaning to read that final book for so many years, like since it came out, and I finally did, and I did enjoy it. It wasn't quite the ending that I wanted for the characters, but I still had a good time, and the ending made me cry. The Hell's Library series, starting with The Library of the Unwritten, is a book series where we follow characters that are in hell, and they are part of this library where all the books go that have never been written. And then last but not least, for finished, I counted the Make You Mine This Christmas. It's not really a series, it's not even marked as a series on Goodreads. However, the two books, those are Christmassy romances, they do belong to each other. They have the same characters in them, so I would say series, and I read Under the Mistletoe with You this year to finish that one off. I don't know if there will be more Christmassy stories in this world. If there are, I will definitely read them, but for now I counted it as finished. In the first book of that series, we have kind of a fake dating trope. However, the girl doesn't fall for her fake dating partner, but for his sister. And in the second book, we then follow the fake dating partner as he falls in love with another man. So that means I have finished 5 series last year, which I think is good. Like, it could be better. I thought it would be better because I thought I would finish one more, but I didn't quite manage it before the end of the year. But yeah, I'm happy with that. Some of these were big achievements. Now we're talking about my favorite category, and that is series that I have read completely in 2025. So I read the first book up until the last book all in the year. Now, the first one you could debate a little bit, but I count it, and that is the Tawnyman trilogy. This is in the bigger series of the Realm of the Elderlings, but for these series statistics, I do count them as individual series. So I read all of Tawnyman in 2025. It was absolutely fantastic. Fool's Fate so far is my favorite book in the whole series. I loved it so much. And yeah, if you don't know about the Realm of the Elderlings, in the first series, Farseer, we follow Fitz, who is a child as he gets dropped off at court because he is a prince's bastard son, and then he becomes the assassin's apprentice. So in Tawnyman we follow Fitz again, but many years after that first series. Next up, I finished a German duology called Fräulein Lena. So this one is one where we have historical fiction books. Unfortunately, the first book was a big fail for me. The second book was slightly better, but yeah, I just had a hard time with this one. These were gifted books, and they just didn't handle German history about like after the Second World War in a way that I enjoy very much. Next up, we have the Between Earth and Sky series. Unfortunately, this was also more of a disappointment for me because I thought I would absolutely love this series, but I'm very much a character-driven reader, and I feel like this series is much more about the world. So in the end, it didn't quite catch me. We are following a character who has told that he is a god reborn, and he is trying to fulfill his destiny. We follow some other characters as well, and this is kind of like South American mythology inspired. Next up, I read the Rook and Rose trilogy. This one was a huge success. I loved this series a lot, and this is a series that is more like Venetian inspired, but not quite. But we do have a woman who grew up very poor, but she has become a con woman, and she's trying to con her way into this aristocratic family to steal some of their wealth. Unfortunately, however, this family does not have any wealth left, so they are very happy to have this new member of the family who might bring in some money. Now, after the first half of that first book, everything gets like thrown over the water and the stakes like rise up and up and up. And this was a fantastic series. Then I finished the Emma Emily Wilde series. Now, this one is very popular on booktube. We follow Emily Wilde, who is a researcher, and she's interested in fairies, and she goes on different adventures with her colleague slash nemesis slash lover, and it's cute. I had a good time with these. Then I read the Vera Wong books. As far as I can tell, the author currently is not planning on writing more, but I think she kept it kind of open, but it's not like in her immediate plans. So I counted this one as read completely because I read both of the Vera Wong books. And Vera Wong is an older Chinese lady who has a tea shop, and she gets involved in the crime solving business. And the last series I read completely was the Bone Witch series, and in this one we follow a bone witch as she has a very strong but very rare kind of magic, and she's unraveling the secrets of her world to figure out how to save it. I also really enjoyed that series. I had a very good time. For a lot of these that I have read completely, I do have complete reading vlogs on my channel, so if you want, you can go and check them out. So in 2025, I read 7 series completely. Now my last category is DNFs, and I have 3 series to mention here where I read the first book and I will not be continuing on with them. The first one is a German book, Die Weiße Maasai. This is a kind of like memoir series, and I did get the first book as a gift. I didn't love it. It also wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but overall I don't want to continue with this. This follows a white woman, a Swiss woman, I believe, who falls in love with a Maasai man when she's on vacation, and it's about their relationship. It's a very like toxic relationship. Then we have the Good Night stories. This, I read the first book. I think it's very sweet, but obviously these are books meant for children, and so I'm not the target audience with this. But yeah, I know that there are more volumes to this, but I think I'm fine with just reading this one. And last but not least, we have the Neapolitan, is that what it's called? Quartet? Neapolitan. I don't know how you say that in English, I'm sorry, but it's My Brilliant Friend, and I read this book. I read it in German, and yeah, I wasn't blown away by it. I know that a lot of people like praise this book to the moon and back, but I just thought it was a very average kind of literary fiction coming of age story about kind of a toxic friendship. So yeah, it didn't hook me, so I won't continue on with this. I do have one honorable mention, the series that I had hoped I would finish but then didn't quite manage to do. And this is a very weird category because it's a reread category, because I started rereading the Simon Snow series to finally finish off the final book. And I didn't quite manage it, but I still wanted to mention it because it feels like I made a lot of progress in the series, but it was all rereads, and now I'm finally reading the final book. So almost finished it. That will be in the stats for 2026. I hope this was a fun little overview over my series reading of 2025. Let me know in the comments, did you completely read any series in 2025? And if so, which one did you read? I do prefer marathon reading series in a way, so I always want this number to be quite high, but then also sometimes some series it doesn't really work that way. So yeah, I had a good time reading series in 2025, and I really hope to make more progress in 2026. So I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!